Today we're going to continue looking at buyer behavior, but we're going to switch. Instead of looking at consumer buying behavior, we're going to start looking at the B2B market, business to business. Before we get into a discussion about this, I want to caution you, keep in mind that when a business does buying, it is not a building. Okay, it is still a person. So everything that we talked about previously in consumer buying behavior still comes into play. They still have these other influences going in their lives and the situations and things like that. But there's a lot more involved when it's for a business as well. So in this segment, we're going to try and understand the surroundings and the kinds of things that go on when a business has to make the buying decision. And in the next segment over this topic, we'll look at the process. So let's begin. Okay. First of all, how is B2B different from consumer buying behavior? Well, the scope is a main issue. As we mentioned, I think the very first segment, the vast majority of marketing dollars is actually spent in B2B marketing as opposed to consumer marketing. And it's hard to realize that because we see so much marketing dollars being spent on the consumer. But even more is being spent on the B2B market. This is important because every business is going to be concerned with this, whether they're on the receiving end of the marketing, whether they're doing the marketing, whether their suppliers or competitors are actively involved. In some way, it's going to affect every organization out there. So let's look at some of the specific characteristics that make B2B different than consumer. One thing is within the business community, within the business organization, itself, we're going to have multiple buyers. There's not just one person that says, oh, we need a product. Here's what we need. Let's go buy it. Think about if you're in a family and you're trying to decide where to go on a family vacation, and your kids are old enough that their opinion is reasonable and listened to. You sit down, you have some meetings, you say, okay, here's where we are in terms of expense-wise, here's some of our options, what would you like to do? Do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to go fishing? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And so you have a lot of input into the decision, even though the parents are probably the one that are going to make the final decision. The same is true within the business setting. Okay, there's multiple influences, multiple sources of information all the time in every decision. So that's one way that it's different than consumers. Secondly, the number of customers within the business market is quite smaller than the number of consumers. We have, depending on how big your target market is, you have millions or billions of consumers that you're targeting. Whereas when you're targeting a business community, you're looking at thousands. Okay, it's a much smaller number. But don't let that fool you. The reason is the size of the purchase. The average business is going to buy a whole lot more and spend a whole lot more money than the average consumer. Let's say we're a grocery store, and let's compare buying a pack of gum for the grocery store to a consumer. A consumer is probably going to buy that pack of gum because they want fresh breath. So they go in, they spend, I don't know how much it is, 50 cents for a small thing. That's it. One small thing, pretty inexpensive. The grocery store, on the other hand, is going to buy cases of this gum. So they'll have it available for the consumer. So they're going to be buying, let's say, 8 cases of gum, spending a lot more money on that product than the consumer. So even though we're talking about a smaller number of customers, each of those customers is going to buy a lot more product compared to consumers. We also see in B2B that there tends to be a geographic concentration. For example, you have the fashion district in different cities, and you will see car dealers grouped together. Companies in the same industry tend to locate within the same vicinity of each other. So that makes it easier for us to market to that group. We can have one salesperson that's in charge of that area and can hit quite a few customers at one time. Now, one area that is very different from consumer is in the role of promotion. With consumer promotions, we tend to see more advertising, where in the B2B market, we use a lot more personal selling, which is our sales force. We really try to build a relationship between the salesman and the customer, the business customer. This isn't the stereotypical idea of a salesperson where they're out there pushing, buy my product, buy my product. It's much more collaborative and cooperative. They're there, the salesperson's there to help the person making the buying decision to solve a problem. So they're providing information, they're walking them through, giving them samples, trying things out. Again, it's much more cooperative relationship. That personal selling is vital in today's society, in the business society. And then also demand is a lot different in B2B than in consumer. We have three different types of demand we're going to talk about here briefly. The first is derived demand, and if you've had economics, and this is probably not a new term for you, but derived demand means the demand for our product is dependent upon the demand for our customer's product. So for example, if we are a manufacturer of fabric, and one of our biggest customers is a coat manufacturer, we're going to determine our demand by looking at the demand for coats. So we'll be looking at weather forecasts and things like that for the upcoming season to determine what the demand for coats going to be, because that'll determine what the demand for our fabric will be. That's derived demand. The demand for our product is dependent upon the demand for our customer's product. The demand tends to fluctuate back and forth in a lot of consumer products. However, in B2B, we don't have that much fluctuation. So we're really interested in measuring how much demand fluctuates, particularly in regard to price. And this measurement of fluctuation is called the elasticity. And what we see is that for most business products, the demand tends to be inelastic, which means we can change the price of a product and it will not have a significant impact on the demand for that product. Why? Well, if they get a price increase in the products they buy, they'll probably just increase their prices as well. Their costs go up, so they increase their price. It's something that they can pass on. They need that product to do their job. So as long as it's not a ridiculous, out-of-control price increase, it's not going to affect demand greatly. Again, that's what we call inelastic. Okay. One area that may surprise you is you may think they choose who they're going to do business with based on price. And while that's true in some cases, most of the time they're looking more for the quality of the product and the dependability of the service in delivery, getting orders complete, etc. Usually that quality and dependability are more important than the price. Okay, which kind of leads us, believe it or not, into the next category, which is where we're going to look at the types of buyers that we have in B2B. And our B2B markets we really put into three categories. There's many, many subcategories. We're not going to hit them all, obviously. The first category we look at is the producer market, where they're going to use our product to produce their product or service. It may be a manufacturer, it may be a service provider, but they're using our product to fulfill their obligations, to fulfill the production of their product or provision of their service. They are really concerned with quality and dependability. This is huge for them. The price, again, is not a big issue. They cannot do their job if they don't have the product that they need in the proper quality at the right time. And so that dependability and quality is the biggest issue with them. The second category we're going to look at is the reseller market. And the reseller market consists of organizations that buy a product, turn around, and resell it. And we have two types: wholesalers who primarily resell to other businesses, and retailers who primarily sell to consumers. We're going to discuss each of these in depth at the end of this course. Just let me make one or two general comments though. Wholesalers are really concerned with having that product in stock. They can't turn around and resell it if they don't have it. So that inventory control, that dependability is a key issue with them. With retailers, it's the service that's so important. They need you to be flexible, to be able to change when their demand change. If all of a sudden a t-shirt, for example, takes off and it's really a hot item, you've got to be able to supply more right away. Or if it's not selling, they want it out of the store right now. You've got to be willing to work with them with markdown monies and some other things we'll discuss later. So they're really looking for the quality of the service. The last category is organizational markets, and this includes the government and other, I shouldn't say other not-for-profit organizations, but the government is kind of all in a category all by itself. They control everything. You do it the way they want you to do it. The main thing to realize is if you want to work with the government and provide products or services for them, the first thing you need to do is get on an approved bidders or approved vendors list, where they'll do a background check, make sure that you're not affiliated with any organizations they don't want to be affiliated with, or shady individuals. Once you're on that list, then you're able to bid for jobs and opportunities, and even though they're in control and you do it their way, you're going to get paid. So you have to jump through hoops, but it's usually worth it. Not-for-profits are a little bit different than all the other industries and organizations we've talked about because they typically have to be very concerned with price. They have to make sure their resources are used very sparingly, and they're very careful with that. So price is a big issue with not-for-profits. Okay, the final thing we're going to look at in this segment are some different buying situations. This isn't complex. There's really 3 different situations. The first one is what we call a straight rebuy. And a straight rebuy is when a company is reordering product. It's product they bought before, they've dealt with the supplier before, they may change quantities, they may change some delivery details, but they're reordering the same thing. The role of the salesperson in the case of a straight rebuy is pretty minimal. They're there to make sure that no problems are occurring, everything's complete, to find out if there's new things we can provide for you. But many times in straight rebuy, our computers automatically place the orders even. Our inventories reach a certain point and boom, the order's placed. So again, the role of the salesperson is a little minimal then there. A modified rebuy is when we're buying a product that we've purchased before, but either we're making some significant changes or maybe we haven't purchased it in a long time. For example, if we are buying new forklifts for our factory and we haven't bought any in a couple years, we're going to want more assistance from the salesperson. We're going to want to know what new things are available, what options are there. We're going to do a little bit more of an information search, and the salesperson's going to be involved in that with us, giving us that information, helping us find the best fit. The third and the final buying situation we're going to look at is called a new task. And a new task is when you buy a product that you have never purchased before. It's new to your company. In this case, the salesperson is vital. They are going to be holding your hand before, during, and after the sale, giving you a lot of information, really helping you out. Why is it important they're there afterwards? Because there's always problems. There's always bugs that have to be worked out. There may be some training issues that need to be dealt with, and that's what the salesperson's there for, to make sure those things go smoothly. Okay, so let me sum up what we've talked about so far in this segment. First of all, we need to understand B2B marketing, no matter what our target market is or who they are, because we're going to be the subject of that B2B marketing, or we're going to be doing it. Some way, somehow, we're going to be effective. So it's important that we understand what's going on. And while there are definitely similarities between consumer and business buying behaviors, there are many differences which we need to address within our marketing strategy. We want to make sure that we tailor our strategy to fit that target market. Thank you. Have a good day.